protector of our homeland security, Alejandro Mayorkas, who will look in the camera before Congress, before the media, and will glibly say the border's under control.
And I don't think Ali Mayorkas has been asleep at the wheel. I think this is intentional. This is part of an agenda.
Welcome to No Border, No Country. Hey, Matt. So we've got this situation in El Paso. We've got a bridge at the port of entry. We have over 1,000 migrants there. What was going on?
Well, apparently the Customs Border Protection officers, the Border Patrol agents there, weren't letting these people into a country fast enough. So they charged the bridge. We have a word for that. It starts with an I. And it's not the I word, the IA word that the two doesn't like. It's invasion. I mean, essentially what we have is we have run on a border checkpoint across a bridge by 1,000 people. Now, Customs Border Protection, Border Patrol agents, and ICE personnel that were there probably sealed off the bridge with Jersey barriers, razor wire, and basically donned riot gear and stood about 3 deep there and repulsed this. But this is the second or third time in recent memory under the Biden administration, groups of migrants, because we don't want to use the N-word, have attempted to force their way into the United States, and that's just simply not acceptable. This is a sovereign country. We determine, as a matter of law and policy, who can enter the country and who can stay here and under what conditions they can stay. Basically comes down to is that if we wish to have any control over our borders, any integrity to them, and we wish to maintain our sovereignty, we simply cannot tolerate large groups of people rushing the border and demanding to be let in when they're totally unvetted, and we have absolutely no idea who they are and whether they're eligible to enter the United States.
So when that I word you mentioned gets invoked, people in the anti-borders mindset get highly triggered because they say things like, well, it's not that because the definition of that is an armed force from another country invading. But that's not the only criteria for this, right?
No, not by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, the dictionary and the legal definition of an invasion is a group of foreigners, foreign nationals, who force their way without authorization into the United States. So when I say force, that simply means they proceed over the border without legal mandate for doing so. So essentially, in order to have an invasion, you typically need a group of people who are not citizens of a sovereign country, who without authorization en masse as a group come over the border. And there is no requirement whatsoever that it be a uniformed military force or that the people who are invading even be armed. It's just simply a mass incursion into a foreign country by people who have not been invited. It's that simple.
Now, when people with even the slightest bit of common sense see video like this, they get disturbed, they get angry, and rightfully so. Now, to compound that, you've got our protector of our homeland security, Alejandro Mayorkas, who will look in the camera before Congress, before the media, and will glibly say, "Order's under control." What do you say about this, Judge O'Brien?
I say Alejandro Mayorkas is lying. I worked with Alejandro Mayorkas. I never liked him. He's got a fluid relationship with the truth. His political ideology determines what he characterizes as facts and what he doesn't. And so the fact is that nobody who's watched anything that's been going on under the Biden administration can say that we have control of the border, operational control or otherwise. I mean, the fact is we've added the population of Ireland to the United States during the Biden administration, largely consisting of individuals who were uninvited and had no authorization to come into the United States. We've had caravan after caravan headed here. We've had groups of people rushing the border. We had the bridge Haitians, so-called, because they were being temporarily housed underneath a bridge in Texas, who tried to bust out of what would be characterized as a pre-inspection area as the Border Patrol and CBP inspectors were processing them. It's the whole world has now become convinced, largely because the Biden administration has, and I'm going to borrow language that a judge in Florida used in one of the cases Early was involved with, hung a big blinking neon "We're open for business" sign at the border, inviting all of these people to come here. We had caravans that came here under Trump. They were stopped in their tracks the minute they hit the border. Now we have people forcing their way across the border. And hence the name of our podcast, No Border, No Country. When that line in the sand gets erased, you no longer have a delineated geographic territory that defines where your country is. And the classic definition of a country is there are a people who inhabit a geographic territory and who assert dominance over that particular territory through their legal systems and their customs.
I'm Tom Homan. The Biden administration is reversing America's progress on immigration, reversing ICE's ability to deport criminal illegal aliens, reversing job protections for Americans, and construction of the wall. That's why I've joined EARLY, the Immigration Reform Law Institute. EARLY uses the courts to stop bad immigration policies. Join me. Support EARLY at early.org. Help win the immigration fight in the courtroom. Paid for by the Immigration Reform Law Institute.
So DHS was founded in, was it late 2002, early 2003? It was a product of 9/11, the aftermath.
Yeah, I believe the legislation was passed in 2002 and it went operational in 2003. I started as a trial attorney with ICE just as they went operational.
So it's been through several presidential administrations, George W. Bush, Obama, Trump, now Biden.
Yes.
Can you recall a DHS secretary who's been as asleep at the wheel as this current one has been?
No, and I don't think Alejandro Mayorkas has been asleep at the wheel. I think this is intentional. This is part of an agenda. I worked with Mayorkas. He has a fluid relationship with the truth when it doesn't support his political narrative. Facts for him are things that are ideologically driven, not based on a universal notion of both truth and reality. And there's no way that you can sit in front of Congress like he did and claim, oh, everything's fine, or it's all under control, and be truthful. So that's a big fat lie, and that's the only way we can characterize it.
Anyone who follows Tom Homan, Early's senior fellow, former ICE acting director, he had said numerous times that he's worked with every administration since Reagan, and he even credited, I believe, Jay Johnson at one point, saying at least he was concerned about numbers coming over, and they did take steps. I mean, the Obama administration is not popular with people who have a pro-law enforcement position, but even they had a modicum of law enforcement responsibility when it came to the border. But like you, he's no fan of Mayorkas either.
Yeah, I think Tom is correct. Tom is obviously very knowledgeable about this stuff. He started as a line Border Patrol agent, worked his way out, but was the acting director of ICE. I worked under the Bush administration. I worked under the Obama administration, and worked as an immigration judge under the Trump administration. Obama didn't take border enforcement seriously enough, but he at least took certain aspects of it seriously. September 11th was recent enough in everyone's minds, and some of the terrorist attacks that went on in places like France and other countries were fresh, as well as various attacks that happened in the U.S. During his watch, that he had to take it seriously. Jay Johnson was typical of the people that tend to get appointed as the Secretary of Homeland Security. I mean, starting with Tom Bridge and all these people that didn't know anything about immigration, that had backgrounds as judges or prosecutors, but had never worked their way from the ground up in the INS, or for that matter, later on within DHS. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate you very much watching our show. Please hit the like button and visit www.irli.org for further information on Early and its mission and an opportunity to support Early's efforts. Thank you.